Nope, just solid job by Tito to getting the young star to look ready.
All right, then we had a interview, the LOD with manager, a very very familiar face, Paul
Yeah,
Ellering. Paul Ellering. A lot of people don't know that the current manager of the Final Testament, Karrion Kross in the AOP, Paul Ellering, was the manager for the LOD in during this time in 1992. And it doesn't get talked about enough in current WWE programming. A lot of people are just wondering who the fuck is this old guy, this old bald guy that's doesn't he's a mute manager. He doesn't talk, he doesn't really do anything. Who the fuck is this guy? Well, he's a longtime manager in the WWE. He was managing Hawk and Animal, and he cut a great promo putting these guys over, the LOD, with the Fink, I believe, was running the interview. But the LOD, they got a huge pop. They cut an intense promo. And what do you remember about this? They mentioned the IRS. Were they just kind of putting the tag team division on notice, or what was the point of this interview?
yeah. So they actually won the belts, or they were the holder of the belts earlier in January, and then they kind of went off the grid, and they had to switch it. I think the Natural Disasters or Money Inc. actually beat them at a house show.
Oh
So
yeah.
they had to pivot, get the belts off the Warriors, and this was kind of like a reboot of the LOD. Let's bring in Ellering, kind of so he can keep the pulse on Hawk behind the scenes. Hawk was getting a little rough and rowdy around this time, and I guess Ellering was pitched to bring him in to add like a fresh coat of paint to to LOD, excuse me, but really ultimately to kind of keep his thumb on Hawk and see if he can kind of ground Hawk, because LOD has plenty of legs here. They're still fresh to the WWE audience. And yeah, it was their goal was to kind of this was not advertised, by the way, Edgar. This was a legit surprise, and it was that pop was real, right? And I thought this was perfect timing. Second thing on the card, the Shawn match happened, let people get settled, and then let's surprise them with this Mean Gene Okerlund. First of all, I love the podium too, by the way. I love that look. It was a cool ambiance in front of a live crowd, everything. They ate it up, but their mission was to ultimately go get the tag belts back that they had just lost and held for most of 91 leading into 92. So it was effective, but it was kind of was what it was. It wasn't as electric or really it kind of started dwindling after that massive pop, really. And it
Yeah.
is kind of funny that we still have Ellering here, what, 32 years later? That's crazy.
It is crazy. And besides, him managing the LOD, do you know anything else about Paul Ellering? We mentioned that he's the current manager for the Final Testament, but besides those two factions, those two teams, did Paul Ellering manage anyone else, or maybe in other promotions other than the WWE, or anything like that?
Well, I know inside of the WWE, he was brought back in 98, 99, kind of when Hawk was going through it again. And he ended up turning on Hawk and Animal in, do you remember Skull and 8 Ball, DOA, those guys?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
He would
So
manage those guys for pretty much 99, 98, that table. So I think 90, more 97, 98, 99, around there. So yeah, he in the late 90s Attitude Era, he was in the WWF, and he did manage Skull and 8 Ball DOA for a little bit. Well,
nice.
historically, he's known for being the Road Warriors or LOD's manager, and now the Final Testament or AOP.
Nice, right on. So there's a little background on Paul Ellering, because not a lot of people know or who he is or where he comes from. So I thought that was really cool to see, worth mentioning. Then we go backstage. We go backstage again to another interview. Jake the Snake Roberts